Power of olfactics. The sense of smell or olfaction is a special sense through which smells are perceived. The sense of smell has many functions, including detecting hazards, pheromones, and plays a role in the taste. It occurs when an odor binds to a receptor within the nasal cavity, transmitting a signal through the olfactory system. Glomeruli aggregate signals from these receptors and transmit them to the olfactory bulb, where the sensory input will start to interact with the parts of the brain responsible for smell identification, memory, and emotion. There are many different causes for alteration, lack, or disturbance to a normal sense of smell, and can include damage to the nose or smell receptors or central problems affecting the brain. Some causes include upper respiratory infections, traumatic brain injury, and neurodegenerative disease. Let's go into the history of the study of olfactics. As the Epicurean and atomistic Roman philosopher Lucretius speculated, different odors are attributed to different shapes and sizes of atoms. In the modern understanding, it stimulates the olfactory organ. There are at present a number of competing theories regarding the mechanism of odor coding and perception. According to the shape theory, each receptor detects a feature of the odor molecule. The weak shape theory, also known as the odotope theory, it suggests that different receptors detect only small pieces or chunks of molecules, and these minimal inputs are combined to form a larger olfactory perception. Similarly, the way we do visual perception, by building on smaller information, poor sensation, combining and refining to create a detailed overall perception. According to a new study, researchers have found that a functional relationship exists between molecular volume of odorants and the olfactory neutral response. An alternative theory called the vibration theory, proposed by Luca Turin, posits that odor receptors detect the frequencies of vibrations of odor molecules in the infrared range by quantum tunneling. However, the behavioral predictions of this theory have been called into question. There is no theory yet that explains olfactory perception completely. Let's talk about the functions of olfactics in the context of taste. Flavor perception is an aggregation of auditory, taste, haptics, and smell sensory information. Retronasal smell, it plays the biggest role in the sensation of flavor. During the process of mastication, the tongue manipulates the food to release odorants. These odorants enter the nasal cavity during the exhalation. The smell of food has the sensation of being in the mouth because of co-activation of the motor cortex and olfactory epithelium during mastication. Smell, taste, and trigeminal receptors together contribute to flavor. The human tongue can distinguish only among 5 distinct qualities of taste, while the nose can distinguish among hundreds of substances even in minute quantities. It is during exhalation that the smell's contribution to flavor occurs, in contrast to that of proper smell, which occurs during the inhalation phase of breathing. The olfactory system is the only human sense that bypasses the thalamus and connects directly to the forebrain. Hearing. Smell and sound information has been shown to converge in the olfactory tubercles of organs. This neural convergence is proposed to give rise to a perception term smound. Smell plus sound is smound. Whereas the flavor results from interaction between the smell and taste, a smound results from interaction between smell and sound. Olfaction in humans. Humans can detect blood relatives from olfaction. Mothers can identify by body odor their biological children but not their stepchildren. Pre-adolescent children can olfactorily detect their full siblings but not the half-siblings or the step-siblings. Different people smell different odors, and most of these differences are caused by genetic differences. Although odorant receptor genes make up one of the largest gene families in the human genome, only a handful of genes have been linked conclusively to particular smells. Olfaction in birds and animals. The importance and sensitivity of smell varies among different organisms, mostly mammals. They have a good sense of smell, whereas most of the birds they don't. Olfactory cues used by the penguins to locate the colony and recognize individuals among mammals. It is well developed in the carnivores which must always be aware of each other and in those that smell for their food, such as the moles. It is estimated that dogs in general have an olfactory sense approximately 10,000 to 100,000 times more acute than a human's. This does not mean they are overwhelmed by smells our noses can detect. Rather, it means they can discern a molecular presence when it is in much greater dilution in the carrier. Scent hounds as a group can smell 1 to 10 million times more acutely than a human, and bloodhounds, which have the keenest sense of smell of any dogs, have noticed 10 to 100 million times more sensitive than the humans. They were bred for the specific purpose of tracking humans and can detect a scent trail a few days old. The second most sensitive nose is possessed by the basset hound, which was bred to track and hunt rabbits and other small animals. Grizzly bears have a sense of smell 7 times stronger than that of the bloodhound, essential for locating food underground using their elongated claws. Bears, they dig deep trenches in search of burrowing animals and nests as well as roots, bulbs and insects. Bears can detect the scent of food from up to 18 miles away. Because of their immense size, they often scavenge new kills and driving away the predators, including packs of wolves and human hunters in the process. Olfaction in fishes. Fish too have a well-developed sense of smell, even though they inhabit an aquatic environment. Salmon utilize the sense of smell to identify and return to their home stream waters. Catfish, they use their sense of smell to identify other individual catfish and to maintain a social hierarchy. Many fishes use the sense of smell to identify mating partners or to alert to the presence of food. Olfaction in insects. Insect olfaction refers to the function of chemical receptors that enable insects to detect and identify volatile compounds for foraging, predator avoidance, finding mating partners via pheromones, and locating oviposition habitats. Thus, it is the most important sensation for insects. Most important insect behaviors must be timed perfectly, which is dependent on what they smell and when they smell for it. For example, smell is essential for hunting in many species of wasp, including Polybius ericea. The two organs insects primarily use for detecting odors are the antenna and the mouth, which is also called the maxillary palps. However, a recent study has demonstrated the olfactory role of the ovipositor in fig wasp. Inside of these olfactory organs, there are neurons called olfactory receptor neurons, which, as the name implies, house receptors for scent molecules in the cell membrane. The majority of olfactory receptor neurons typically reside in the antenna. These neurons can be very abundant, for example, Drosophila. Drosophila flies have 2,600 olfactory sensory neurons. Insects are capable of smelling and differentiating between thousands of volatile compounds, both sensitively and selectively. Sensitivity is how attuned the insect is to very small amounts of an odorant or small changes in the concentration of an odorant. Selectively refers to the insect's ability to tell one odorant apart from another. Some insects, such as the moth Deliphilia elfenor, use smell as a means to find food. Olfaction in plants. The tendrils of plants are especially sensitive to airborne volatile organic compounds. Parasites such as dodder make use of this in locating their preferred host and locking onto them. The emission of volatile compounds is detected when foliage is browsed by animals. Threatened plants are then able to take defensive chemical measures such as moving tannin compounds to their foliage. Thank you so much for listening. I hope you learned certain nuances about olfaction. See you in the next episode. Take care and have a good day.